Oh, the way. Oh, yeah.
Good Friday.
Friday.
And today's the day we flex real hard. And flexing with us, we have a guest.
We have a flexi guestie. You guys, today's guest, some of you guys may know her.
And if you don't, you bout to.
She is a proud ENS Army member, and she has got a story to share and lessons to share from her own life and experience with you. Jenny is a wife, mother of 3, and an owner, baker, decorator, and cleaner of the Chaotic Crumb Home Cakery. Cakery, I love it. She has been a part of the inner circle in the ENS Army since July of 2021. She has gone from weighing 209 to 195 since, and is still learning, growing, and striving to be better each day. She is hopeful that her successes and slip ups can be used as a learning tool for anyone that sees her journey. Jenny will be sharing with you guys a little bit of her weight loss journey since even before ENS. And she had a vertical sleeve gastrectomy back in August of 2021. At the time of the surgery, she weighed 285 pounds. Okay, so you guys, today's conversation, we're going to be discussing the truth about gastric bands and learn whether maybe it is a quick fix or rather a solution. So, you guys, without any further ado, let's welcome Jenny Ozmun.
Hello.
Hello.
Cakery, like what a cool name.
Hey, I'm just going to point out y'all are wearing the same tank top.
I know.
We're all wearing the same tank top, but yours is the same color.
It's because we're fancy.
Yeah, we're twinsies like that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for your time today.
Of course. I'm flattered.
So okay, I mean, at your heaviest, you're at 285. You're now in the Wonderland. So congratulations for that. Let's begin by you going back to, when your weight loss journey very first started. So my first question to you is, from what you remember, when was the point in your life when you had that realization of, I either need to lose weight or maybe I should lose some weight?
Probably when I was a kid, probably, 7, 8, 9, I had the nickname the chunk. I was always the heavier one. I was always the big boned one out of me and my sister and my brother. My sister was nothing but, elbows and knees. She was a scrawny little nothing. And then I always had more meat on my bones. And I developed early. I reached how tall I was going to be forever by 4th grade. They called me a pop and stop Amazonian girl, so I already had all of these nicknames and everything else that hung over my head from a really young age. I got teased in school. Especially in the 90s when you're a foot taller than everybody else and you have giant glasses that look like your grandma's and the fluffy bangs and the bad perm that was going on back then. I was a monster, man. It was terrifying, I'm sure.
I want to see a picture of that.
I wish I had one handy. But starting at a pretty young age, I think throughout our family, just not the healthiest of eating. Great family, super close, but we definitely, it's been passed on for eons, I think. And then as I got older, I would go up and down and up and down. I think my senior year of high school, I think I magically grew metabolism, I think. I hadn't changed anything. I worked at Sonic Drive-In. I was in marching band forever, and all of a sudden I dropped like 30 pounds. I don't know why, but it was cool. Um, and then going into college, of course, you know, you put some on, you take some off, you start doing the partying things. Some of us did, and drinking. And then, you know, it just all kind of was always this up and down yo-yo where you could never quite figure out the happy medium and balance that you need. Um, then I got older, I got married, I had my first kiddo. And during pregnancy, I didn't gain, I think I gained 11 pounds.
Hmm.
And, you know, so nothing crazy. But after I had my daughter at, I I probably jumped from, I think I was right around 200 pounds already, and then jumped up to 230, 245. And so things in our household weren't going so great. And I was like, I've got to do something. I can't get out of here and look this way. You know, I needed the whole package. So I started looking into the weight loss surgery. And the only way insurance would cover it, they said, is if I had, you know, comorbidities, which I didn't have. I was overweight, but perfectly healthy. But I needed to weigh this certain threshold. So I actually went to a vitamin store um, and bought, you know, super heavy duty carb weight gainer muscle man stuff. And I was drinking 2 of these shakes a day, trying to pack in as many calories as I could to gain the extra 8 or 10 pounds I think I needed to be. I know, isn't that ridiculous? And that's what the place told me to do. They said, if you're really looking to get insurance to cover this, you know, you're only 8 pounds shy and you're already this weight. What's 8 or 10 more pounds? Is that not insane?
Oh my gosh, I've never heard of that before. And I want to
Yeah.
find them and I want to punch them straight in their throat.
Yes. Yes. Well, I did a really good job, and I went from being, you know, the 250, 55 to boom, I ballooned up to 285 pounds, and insurance still wouldn't cover it because I still didn't have any comorbidities. I was just very overweight and nothing else was wrong with me. No diabetes, no nothing. So yeah. So I ended up being a self-pay patient. I took out some care credit and I dropped 10 grand and worked my ass off over the next however many months before the interest hit on that, and paid that down. And so I had my surgery.
It is it is amazing what we will do to get what we want.
Yeah.
If it if we want it bad enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Man.
price tag that you'll put on it
Yeah.
is insane.
Okay. So did you try anything before the thought of surgery came into play? Because like going for surgery, I'm like, I would think that there would be other things along the way that you'd want to try, unless I mean you were just like, let me just do this thing.
Just rip the band-aid off. No, there were definitely other things. I did MetaFast, I did Weight Watchers, we tried Nutrisystem. I think it was like, was it Herbalife? One of those where you're supposed to take stuff. And, you know, everything, I'm super, super caffeine intolerant. And so everything that I would try to take, I would just, you know, be a jittery mess, especially back before they really started, you know, laying the hammer down on a lot of those products. Just crazy stuff. You know, back in the day, you would get a newspaper and there would be ads for like body wraps, you know, herbal body wrap will melt your fat, blah, blah, blah. I remember secretly ordering one of those and, you know, wrapping myself up like a mummy. And all I did was like set my skin on fire, I think. You know, it was insane. So we did. And I spent a lot of money even prior to doing the surgery. And of course, nothing was you know, it was all a quick fix, but it wasn't a long-term fix. So there was definitely scaffolding leading up to doing the surgery.
Why would you say that you didn't like none of the other things worked?
They would work, but as soon as you were broke and you couldn't afford to keep their system in place anymore and eat their food or take their pills or whatever, because, you know, we eventually get to a point where it's like, oh, you know, other expenditures in life happen. You can't spend hundreds upon hundreds when you're in your early 20s, you know, for forever. And so They weren't a long-term solution. You could drop 10 pounds real quick in a week, but you were miserable, and it was not a sustainable lifestyle. You can't eat out of little boxes forever. There's other food out there.
I am taking all the questions
That's
and I'm
okay.
not sorry about it. So you actually paid a considerable amount to coach with us.
I have, yes.
So here's the deal. Like, you said like you can't keep paying that much, but why would you continue investing in something if you've already spent all this money on all these different foods, all these different pills, powders, boxed meals, whatever, and the plans and the programs that weren't sustainable? Then you drop 10 grand on a weight loss surgery. And none of this stuff really got you to where you wanted to be. But then you're going to drop another however many grand on coaching with us and then renew that. Why?
Um, while working with you may not be the quickest fix, it is a long-term sustainable way for me to make healthy choices in my life. And it's not just about how I look on the outside. It is not about the number that is on the scale. Um, while I may not have had huge losses in the time that I have been with ENS or in the inner circle, the shifts that I've had inside of me have far outweighed what the number on the scale is. Having gone through all of those other programs and dropping all that weight and having had a portion of my stomach removed, physically taken out of my body, I was not given the tools to be successful in my life, to feed my soul, to feed my body, and to fuel myself towards the things that really are the deep-seated root of why do I have such a poor relationship with food? Why is food so hard? And I am starting to uncover those things. I always say that I'm like a little turtle in the group, that I'm kind of slow to uncover a lot of these things. But I also think about there has been, I know the word trauma is thrown around a lot these days, but I feel like it's the best descriptor. I feel like there is so much trauma when it comes to body image and how I feel about myself, and learning to love myself, and things that have been said or done to me over the years, that those scars are deep in there. And where I may not be shedding weight left and right, I am tearing down walls and getting to know myself and healing those things, and learning who I really am. I've had 40 years, 41 years of burying a lot of life stuff pretty deep, and beyond the weight, the physical weight, I have the mental and emotional weight that I'm also losing along the way. And for me, those things are way heavier
Yeah.
than my hips and thighs will ever be.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into the inner circle in just a little
I know.
bit.
I just was very curious. I needed to know.
Yeah. Well, and I'll backtrack a little bit to say, when I had my surgery, I was really diligent, incredibly diligent, because I had invested $10,000 in having part of my stomach removed. And I was very diligent for about a year and a half. You could only eat really small meals, about 4 ounces of protein at a time. You had to drink water through, just crazy protocol to keep it going. And when I did, I lost weight. I got down to about 150 pounds. So I lost 130 something pounds being very diligent. And I felt awesome. I looked good. I had these pictures, side by sides of me going from the person that looked like I ate myself to a much smaller version, and I went through a divorce in there, and I was not very healthy about it. I lived on caffeine, and don't tell my mom, but I smoked a lot, and lots of cigarettes, and that was it. And I jogged and cardio, caffeine, cigarettes, and cardio, the 3 C's, and got down to about 122 pounds, and I looked pretty gross. And then life has happened. I've gotten, 2 more kids in there, and I've gotten remarried, and I'm back to fat and happy and way too comfortable in my lifestyle. And now I'm starting to get achy and hurty and, not living my best life. And so that's where we are right now. So.
Hey, thanks for sharing that. Okay. So my curiosity is, what made you want to look into having a weight loss surgery?
I knew that I didn't necessarily have the support system that I needed to drop the weight that I needed to drop. Without going into a lot of detail, in a big giant audience, there were some things, like I mentioned, going on in my marriage that I was ready to get out of. And I put together this crazy plan in my head of, okay, I have to look better to get out of here. I can't leave and, be a giant chubby version of myself. And we needed to sell the house, and we needed to figure out, so I had this whole 3-year plan in my head. And that was the biggest part of it, was I wanted to lose weight so that I might still be desirable to somebody else and look good and feel good about myself. And I did. Without that community that I needed, that seemed like the best option to me, as crazy as it was, to go that route.
Yeah. So, okay. Basically, I think what I'm understanding is that you felt desperate.
Yeah, I was very desperate.
And it seemed to be the route that would make sense for someone who's desperate.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Knowing what you know now, if you could take back time, would you have still done it?
I've thought about that, because I knew you would ask me that question, and I'm a little torn. I think if you are in a situation where you have hundreds of pounds to lose, I think it can be a valuable tool if you have the community and coaching to go along to teach you the nutrition and to use it as a tool, and not the only thing that you have, that this is the only answer. This is going to solve all the problems. I think, if it was somebody that was in such a dire state with their health and they really needed to look at losing that weight, maybe that would be one way to look at it. In my situation, where I was just overweight and I didn't have any comorbidities going along with it, and I just really needed to hunker down and get the discipline in place and the education and the coaching and community, I think that money would have been much better spent on something like ENS, where you grab us by the hand, you meet us where we are, and you struggle through and, hooray with us when those things happen. And you give us the tools to have an overall healthy life, mind, body, soul, not just the number on the scale. Mm-hmm. So I think there's 2 different ways. That's kind of what I came up with for an answer. I think there's 2, in my head, there was 2 very different ways. If you're just looking to drop pounds, I would say no. I would say do the work, put the work into yourself, heal the wounds that are deeper than just your saddlebags, and, get out of your own way and put the work in so that you can heal and be whole and get the body that you want and deserve.
I want to point out the heal and be whole part, because I'm a very, very big believer in, like, I cannot have any single regret in my life. Even if I feel like it should be a regret, mm-hmm. like, oh, I did something I'm not proud of. I don't regret anything, because every single thing, if I'm focused on being better, has made me who I am and giving me all the adversity I've struggled with because of bad decisions I've made. If I hadn't struggled with those things, I wouldn't be able to help. So I very much believe everything happens on purpose. And so I am very big on, like, I regret nothing, even if it was a stupid decision, even whatever. But at the same time, I I have been on the phone with many people who are considering a weight loss surgery, and I almost beg them not to, because what happens is when you alter your internal system, you make things much difficult for yourself afterwards. And
Yes.
so if it doesn't stick, or if you end up gaining the weight back, which you can and many have, you have a different obstacle than other people who have their whole stomach and
Yes.
whose internal stuff has not been compromised. So I appreciate that answer. I was torn in the middle too, because I'm like, man, I don't ever think that anybody should regret what they do if they can learn from it. But like, also, I wouldn't recommend it for somebody who's considering it.
Right. Right.
So,
Hence why I asked, would you have done it?
Yeah.
I didn't ask, would you regret it? Because I agree in the fact that, like, what's in the past is in the past. Like, there's no sense, like beating ourselves up about it. But, I know that you have a different sense of wisdom now. And considering that, I was just curious. Okay, so let's talk about this. From your own life experience, let's say you were talking to like Jenny of 10 years ago, not to like a 600-pound person. Okay. When Jenny was considering it, what would you tell her that, the gastric band is a quick fix or a solution, and why?
I would say, I would tell Jenny of 10 years ago that having surgery is a quick fix. It's not an overall solution. Um, I would say let's look deeper. Let's get to the root of why you are wanting to make this decision, and what can we do about those problems? How can we build you up in that way to help you get to where you want to be? Jenny of 10 years ago, man, that pep talk and the knowledge that I have now, even regarding surgery, regarding, having gone through TKC and raw and just some of the things we talk about in there, and being in alignment in your own environment, I think having those tools at the ready, I think having gone through some of the things in my life, things would have panned out really differently. Like Erin says, I don't want to take back any of my experiences. I have learned so much. But I think it would have set me up in a different way to be successful in a different way, starting 10 years ago, compared to having, an extra decade of some of the BS that I drag around behind me,
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's just really a quick fix.
And I want you to know that my point of asking you this question, because I'm sure that like as you were hearing it, you're like, maybe it heightened a level of emotion a little bit, because you're like, man, like I wish I could have spoken to Jenny of 10 years ago. But my point for asking you this is because all we can do by the end of the day is use our own experience to inspire others. And my wish and hope for anybody who is either listening to this live or in the recording, 1 month from now, 1 year from now, and if you are like at a point where you're like maybe in the mid 250s and you're considering, like
if you are the Jenny from 10 years ago.
Yes, if you're considering a gastric surgery because you feel like this is because you're feeling desperate.
Anything.
You're feeling,
hold on, anything. Tummy tuck, gastric bypass, gastric sleeve, whatever the other ones are, any of that falls in the same category.
Like my point for asking this question is to use your wisdom to inspire others to, to get on a path where there is a better way, which we all know that there is a better way. Because, if I was to draw a graph, right? I really like drawing graphs, like normally when somebody gets any surgery, like, a gastric band, it's because they're like at the bottom of their lowest, right? Which from a weight standpoint is the highest they've ever been. And they're like, just get this out of me, right? So it makes sense. And because you're, considering, you're putting all these resources, if you think about it, an extreme amount of money, time, because every surgery takes time to set up for it, going to the doctor, the recovery process after that, right? And the energy that goes into it mentally, physically, emotionally, right? Like, you're so invested in it that you're like, afterwards, you're like, okay, I'm going to do my all. Now, just like you said, the way that I see it is on a surface level, right? Like, it takes care of things for a little while. But if you don't work on the layers underneath that, like your thought habits, your lifestyle habits, your nutritional habits, right? Like everything that we talk about, like your mindset, your environment, if you do not educate yourself in a contextual way that is based on you, not just every single article that is up on Google, right? And you build discipline, what's going to happen? Like, yes, maybe within the first year, maybe even 16 months, even 2 years, you're like, yes, the weight goes down, 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 down. But what ends up happening afterwards is that everything gets exposed and you just don't know how to handle it, and your foundation is poor. So when the hurricane's coming, like the sand grains just go all over the place.
You can manipulate the external, but it's always temporary if you do not handle the internal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, and thank you for sharing that. And really, that is the intention of having you share your story too, like use your story and your experience as, another way to inspire others.
And to show that there is hope, regardless of whether, somebody's considering doing a weight loss surgery or not. There's way too many women in this position who just feel down on themselves. And if I take myself back to, 15 years ago where I was, just feeling so down on themselves, feeling like they're not worth anything, feeling like they're stuck, or trying, and you put in all this effort, but like almost seems like you're literally going in the same circle over and over again, and it's defeating and it's depressing. And there's just so many people that will watch this and be inspired regardless of what they're considering doing. And our hope, and, for having you here too, is just to say, look, there is hope. Look, there are ways that you can do this that make you feel awesome. Yes, you want to lose the weight. Yes, we want you to, because ultimately, even though you don't have any negative health markers at 250 or 280 pounds, my friend, I would argue that's still not healthy.
Agreed.
Because your organs are suffocating and your hormones are not working optimally, and you're tired and your joints have way too much pressure on them and all these other things, even though you don't have diabetes, even though you don't have these other, comorbidities, as you were talking about. If anybody's watching this just feeling defeated, look, there's hope, and all you need to do is get connected with the right community of people. And, it's super inspiring as you and each person in this community goes through their journey, because we know that there's a ripple effect. And so just really appreciating your coming on here to share your story, though potentially vulnerable, to inspire other people who are in a similar position.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you so much for your time and for your generosity. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Awesome. So, okay.
You're going to be famous.
Yeah, you are. So you lost all this weight, and then you said it started creeping back up. So let's now talk about the chapter in your life from when the weight started creeping back up to like right before anything ENS. Like, what did you do then?
So, like with anything, after you have your surgery, they tell you there are things that you should avoid, things like rice and pasta that swell up in your little teeny tiny tummy and really make you uncomfortable, that your tolerance to different foods, things like, different kinds of meats, things that are very fatty, your stomach, your tool is not going to tolerate it like it used to. And if you eat too much, your what do they say? I don't remember how he said it, but basically your salivary glands go into overload and you end up throwing up everything that you would eat, because you can't, there's not enough room for it in there. Over time, as you start to eat a little bit more, your stomach stretches out. Just like anybody who hasn't even had the surgery, your stomach can stretch to accommodate the size of the meals that you eat. And the same thing can happen after you have that sleeve done. So you're eating more food and you eat a little bit more and you eat a little bit more and you have a little more tolerance over time to all of those foods that you've been avoiding. And now all of a sudden you're back in the same place and you can eat all of those things that you really shouldn't be eating. So yeah, your weight's going to go up. There's also things they would call slider foods, like chips and ice cream and things like that. High calorie foods that squish down really tiny and little, and you can eat a lot of them. You figure out all these little loopholes, and instead of using your new tiny tummy as a tool, you're figuring out ways to negotiate and get around it. And you go down that slippery slope and you feed, the beast that's in you that wants all of those things, and you can undo all of the work that you feel like you've done. So it is very possible to get back to where you were at the very beginning, whether you've had that surgery or not. So over time, of course, I started to stress eat more. I was not as diligent, having my protein shakes. I was not as diligent with the lean proteins and started hitting up those drive-throughs. You have more kids, you have more stress. And so I did. I just ended up right back where I was. I hadn't gotten to the root of what the issues were. I hadn't gotten educated. I hadn't, built a community that was supportive of my health goals, and poof, you end up right back at square one, sometimes even worse. Luckily, I have not gotten back to 285 pounds, but I could if I tried real hard, I bet, so it can be undone. You can undo your surgery. You can win that battle, man. And sometimes we can be so bullheaded that no, we can't do that. We'll never get back to where we were. Yes, you will. And you will prove yourself wrong. You'll win in the worst way ever. So after I had my kids, got remarried, we just resettled back into old habits and old ways, having biscuits and gravy, 3 times a week. And I started my bakery. And so, there's always frosting and cake around. And before you know it, you end up putting all the weight back on, feeling sluggish, feeling worthless. And it's not a good place to be. It's not a good look.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the heaviest that you went back to after your gastric bypass?
You went down to 120 something.
Uh-huh.
And then on your uprise, what was like
my very heaviest was right before I joined ENS. I was right about 213 pounds. I tried Optavia and lost about 30 pounds on that. And that's an expensive program. So I had to stop doing that, and poof, you don't eat a million little bars a day, and you put weight back on. And so I got back up to about 213 pounds, and I was getting ready to start Optavia again. And I found y'all, my friend Casey Harden, who I've known since college. Yes, we always joke that we have all of
That's
these
how
stories.
You started?
Casey Harden.
That's how you started?
Yeah, that's how I started. In fact,
No
I hadn't
kidding.
even watched a single episode of Erin and Sarit. I hadn't ever looked at anything. But Casey, I've watched her on her Facebook page, for the past year and a half or whatever. And I have seen her go from the Casey of late to where she was in North
We
Dakota
gotta
or
get
South
Casey on.
Dakota
Yeah.
and watched her living proof of your system and your coaching and the community. And she was preaching big time. And she called me up and she was like, Jen, I'm going to put you in touch with Aaron. I think this is exactly what you need. And like in that same day, Aaron called me and that was it, man. I was like, take my money. This is what I need in my life. This is the part that was missing in everything else. And it has been, and it has been awesome, and it has been amazing. And I am so glad.
The ripple.
So,
Yes.
so you started in the same program that Casey started on, the Inner Circle, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
so
I just jumped in. I hadn't done anything else. I just jumped in.
so let's talk. This is so freaking cool. I had no idea. Casey has done amazing. I'll never forget her success call. I was like I had the pleasure of coaching Casey, and I remember where she started from.
I still see
I
her.
think it took her 1 month just to like accept one thing that I'm like, okay, we need to start with this thing. And like after 1 month, she's like, okay. And then it's like the momentum picked up and it's like, so good.
Still, every time I see a post of like her full body, I'm like, where did you go?
She's so tiny.
Where did you go?
Yeah.
It's so amazing. And she looks so healthy and so happy and so
authentic.
Like, it's so amazing.
Well, and I'm just the opposite because from college, like that's the Casey I know, like little tiny Casey, marching and marching band with the big old bass drum, that she has out in front of her. And yeah. And so pictures of her from, being trapped in life for a minute. I look at that and I'm like, I don't even know that person, and, so to see her now though, she's so open and heart open on her sleeve all over the place, living it. And I love it. I love that for her.
I love it. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the Inner Circle. What would you say? You joined back in July of 2021. And initially when you signed up for 6 months?
I think we did 9. I think Erin worked out a little.
That's right. Yeah. 9 is not normally a thing.
I know.
Yeah, we figured it out.
She thought I was special. So
You are special. Okay. So what have you learned? Okay. If you could share with the Jenny of 10 years ago, like what we'd call like the top 3 biggest takeaways, what would those be?
All of my favorite catchphrases from ENS. It's not about the number on the scale. It's who you become in the process. And not about the weight you lose. It's who you become in the process. Progress, not perfection. And my biggest thing lately is, that everybody comes to where they're at in their own time, that you can't compare, you can't play the comparison game. And, you have to love yourself, and learning to do those things and putting in the hard work and showing up. You got to show up. And that has been hard for me. So I talked a little bit about kind of like my self-trauma in my head. Those are things that have been getting uncovered, and it's been really uncomfortable for me. And I'm scared to lean into it sometimes, but I'm learning that if it's uncomfortable and it scares me, that those are the things that I need to charge towards and run towards, because those are the things that are going to make me grow and live the life that I crave and that I deserve.
And how do you know that running straight into your fear is going to yield what you really want? How do you know that?
You don't. But greatness is on the other side of that. The greatness is on the other side of that fear.
But how do you know greatness is on the other side of that fear?
Because
how do Jenny know? How do you know?
How do I know? Because hiding and staying in my own little corner and running away from the fear, all it does is take me back to the same old crap cycle. It hasn't gotten me anywhere. And so
and
I'm learning.
What has happened when you've run into your fear?
I find something new about myself that I love. I find more bravery. I find more heart. And I find that I find me. And that has been huge because I've lost who I was somewhere in all of this journey and trying to refigure out who that is. A mom of three. I taught music for 15 years in public school, and now I'm not doing that. I don't have that identity anymore. So I'm trying to figure out who I want to be when I grow up, and I'll be 42 this year. And so running away from that fear and running away from the things that, freak me the heck out, they haven't gotten me where I want to be, and they're not helping me learn who I am. So obviously I've got to run towards it.
So good. Okay, what would you say are some of the tools provided in the inner circle that, give you the courage to, like you said, run into your fears, that, give you a bigger understanding of, things like you said, like progress, not perfection, who are you becoming, and that sort of thing?
I think the first thing I'm going to say is just a safe place to put your fears out there. Our community is so huge, and it's not, hundreds and hundreds of people in Inner Circle. It is a little bit smaller family, but we get to watch each other grow, and we get to cheer each other on, and we get to catch each other and hold each other up when things get hard. And so being able to share where we are at and know that there is no shame in that, and that nobody is going to talk down to us for those things, that all they're going to do is say, hey, maybe I've been there before, or hey, don't forget, we're here with you. You've got this. That has been huge. So community is awesome. I think the teachings that we get in our Monday calls, there's always something in there. Yes, that I always say, it's like, if you went to church and the preacher is saying something and you go, oh, and it steps on your toes a little bit. It's kind of like that in there too. And when Pastor Sarit gets rolling and she gets fired up, she's feeling the spirit. She's got some good knowledge that she loves to share, and it can step on your toes and call you out and bring you back to the straight and narrow. So
that's what a good friend does.
Yes. So the teaching, the community, our coaches are amazing. I think the fact that they put themselves out there and they practice what they preach. They make themselves vulnerable, and they show you that it's not just showing people when, oh, you're sad this day. It could be, man, they're in tears. This super sucked. It could be anything, but it's just putting their life out there to show you that, yes, they struggle too. They're not just, like the skinny girl on the aerobics video that, oh yeah, she's been this way her whole life. It's so easy. No, they want you to see that it is hard. It is a simple solution, but it is hard. And it's okay. It's okay for you to go at your own pace. Just keep getting up and trying. So the coaching is amazing. Yeah.
What's harder than hard?
Really hard?
Trying to do hard on your own.
Oh, yes.
That's harder than hard. That sucks.
It does suck. Yes. And that is a lesson that I am continuing to learn. I feel like it's a cycle that I'm about to hopefully get out of. So
it's your choice.
It is every day. It is my choice every day.
So Jenny, let's talk about what is your ultimate goal, and do you believe that the inner circle will help you get there?
My ultimate goal is to lose some more weight. I would like to lose probably about 40 more pounds. But even more than that, that's always the obvious, big, low-hanging fruit. For me, that's the obvious part. For me, it's going to be continuing on this incredibly crazy hard road to find me, to heal the hurts that I thought I could handle. That every time, one of our lessons, our coaches or somebody in the community, taps in a little bit more and chinks away at all of the bricks that I have up in my wall, that uncovering those things and making myself vulnerable, that is where my biggest goal lies, is finding a way to find harmony and be happy in my heart and my body and my soul and my mind, and figuring out those things that feed all of those things, and having that deep seated happiness where I just, it's all the time. It's not a destination, that it is my choice, and figuring out all of the pieces to put in place to make that happen for myself and in turn my family.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the greatest success and my greatest goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the second part of that question is, do you believe that the inner circle will help you get there?
Absolutely. I feel that from the beginning, Inner Circle has met me where I am. I think our coaches, we've talked about that, Aaron and Suri already know what's going to happen because they've already been through so much, and the coaches have been through so much, and they've lived through such similar things that, yeah, I was so gung-ho at the beginning, and oh, damn, look at me. I ran away and tucked my tail between my knees, and oh, I'm back. And then, oh, they know what kind of journey we're going to be on before we even know. So I absolutely believe that staying in Inner Circle or staying plugged into the community as long as I can is going to help me reach my goals. Even if I am the slowest hurdle in the group to get there, I know without a doubt that I will get there, because there is no shame, and I am safe in learning who I am and figuring those things out along the way.
There was a point in time where Jenny came up on renewal for Inner Circle.
This is
I'm going to share this
story.
I'm going to share this because it happens so many times, and I want to hear your input on this. And you were not going to renew. Can't do it. Can't afford it. Right?
Yep.
Okay. So why did you think that?
I couldn't afford it because I feel like I hadn't put enough work in for myself, and I wasn't doing the work. And why would I want to put more money into myself when I'm not doing the work? It's a lot of money to invest in yourself when you're not doing the work. But I also realized I'm not done yet.
So what you just said is Aaron and Sarit know what's going to happen. They know your journey before you know it.
Yes.
The coaches know, because every single coach started in your position, Jenny.
We all did.
Every single coach literally went through the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
And so they know. People fall off. We fall off all the time. But you know what's harder than hard? Trying to do hard by yourself. Because eventually you will overcome. And for some people, it takes a while, and that's okay. Because would you rather invest that 10 grand you invested and be able to keep the results that you got, and not only the weight loss results, but feel amazing about yourself and the fact that you overcame all of those things, and you accomplished things that were difficult for you, and you stuck to your word, and you proved to yourself that you can do hard things, and you, better manage your time. You can communicate in your relationships better. You know how to ask for what you want and what you need. You know how to stand up for yourself. You know how to say no to things. All of these things people do not consider in this journey, but they have more of an impact than just the food that you eat and the workouts that you do. And so there was a point where we're like, you can't. You can't not. Because here's the deal. We don't just want your money. The worst thing is for us to accept somebody's money, watch them make some progress, and then quit on themselves, because at that point, now you've wasted it. Mm-hmm. Now you've wasted it. But I refuse to let anybody waste any of that money by not continuing when they know they need it. I will do everything in my power because I know what the future looks like for you when you stay.
Mm-hmm.
You will get it. The messages will resonate. You will learn. You will overcome the things that you maybe think that you can't. But harder than hard is trying to do hard by yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm so like, just personally, like, I was like, no, she can't. She's not done. She's not finished. And
I'm
it will
not.
be a waste.
It would.
So
Just getting warmed up, baby.
just every day, man.
Every day, day one.
Every day.
Yeah.
So Casey went through a similar story too with her renewal, and we had a serious conversation with her. And
I remember.
Yeah.
Same crossroads. Same crossroads.
And then like the biggest breakthrough happened to her like right after. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. And it's all a matter of how you look at it. So, okay. Let's say if there was a Jenny of 10 years ago watching this, and she's considering doing a gastric band surgery because she's desperate. She's been around the block. She's done it all, seen it all. She's hearing about the inner circle, but she's also hearing that, it's expensive. And by the way, it is less than the gastric band for those of you guys who
it's like a third of.
Yeah. What would,
depending on how long you're
what would you tell her?
You could be in the inner circle for a year for less than the cost of the gastric band.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you could. I would tell her, I would say, give them all your money. I would say, right? I would tell her, invest in yourself, invest in your soul, not just in the number on the scale.
Wow, that gave me chills. Invest in your soul, not the number on the scale.
Wow, that's a Jenny drop. Jenny drop.
Dang.
Jenny's church.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, sure, I lost weight, but it was because it forced my body to lose weight. It's not because I was healing. It's not because I had dug deep, and it had nothing to do with that. It literally was only about the number on the scale. And there's so much more going on than just the number on the scale. My value is not found in the number on the scale. Even if I was 120 pounds, I was the most unhealthy. I was miserable. I was living a shitty life. I was making crap decisions. Yeah. And even at 120 pounds, I was the most unhealthy I had ever been. Mm-hmm. So that number on the scale is nothing. I was just as healthy at 120 as I was at 285. And I was miserable at both ends of that spectrum. There is so much in between. So invest in your soul, not in that number on the scale. Invest in your heart, invest in finding, what is deeper than the number on the scale, because that is not your value.
I love it. I love it. Is there anything else that you would like to tell Jenny of 10 years ago, or anybody who's watching this?
I would tell her, don't make decisions when you are at the point of desperation. Wow. I would say don't make decisions that are huge and life-altering when you are bottoming out. Find a way to become vulnerable with somebody and share your hard things. Figure out ways to take your problems apart and solve it a piece at a time. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And do it at your own pace. Don't feel pressured by society. Don't feel pressured by toxic people around you. Don't be afraid to step away from the things in your life that weigh you down. And find ways to invest, like I keep saying, in your heart and in your soul. Aw.
So cute. Is he in the house with you right now?
No, he's at work. He's at work
in the other room.
No, in fact, my 3 kids are back in my bedroom, and I'm going, oh my God, I don't even want to know what they're doing.
That's awesome. Mike, I'm so glad that you're here. And Mike, thank you for being supportive of her. Thank you for letting her spend astronomical amounts of money on our coaching.
Aaron.
It was like $6, Mike.
Yeah,
so
$6.50. I send them cake on the side. Okay.
But in all honesty, like, thank you for truly being supportive. And it's like one of the things that is missing from so many people's journey is a supportive environment at home. So thank you for being here, for showing your support on this journey.
He's pretty great. I like him a lot.
Man, you're so good. Thank you for, bringing us all to church on a Friday. I mean, you guys, way to end the week on
She
such
almost
a
made
high
me
note.
cry. She almost made me cry.
Yeah, that was just, such a authentic conversation. I appreciate you, sharing your wisdom from your own life experience. I'm sure that this is going to touch so many hearts, and it is so relatable. And, for those of you guys listening, I truly hope that you make the right decision. Okay. Use other people's experiences to make your journey even better. So, Jenny, you were the vehicle that is going to help transform a lot of lives. I don't know if you know that, but you are. So
we'll actually put a link below this video if you feel like the inner circle or anything that we do is something that will benefit you. We'll put a form below just to get some information, what your goals are and what kind of things you've been struggling with, and to see if the inner circle is something that you would be a good fit for. So if you're listening to this and you're like, God, I want to know more about this, click the link in the description below this video and just get started there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Jenny, thank you so much for your time. You're so amazing.
Thank you for your expertise and your love. Y'all have been so awesome.
Hey, it's our honor, pleasure, and our duty and obligation. And when we put you guys in uncomfortable situations and have hard conversations, is because chances are is that we want this more bad for you than you may even want it for yourself. So therefore, we must. See you on Monday night, Jenny. Thank you so much. I hope that you have a beautiful weekend. And for those
y'all
of you
too, thank you.
Have a beautiful weekend as well. Love ya. Bye.